So I was on Facebook last night looking through, my news feeds, and I ended up seeing something that made me smile. It made me jump for joy, and it just made my night, to be honest with you. Uh, Allegedly, an interracial couple, typically, of course, a black female. She was in a relationship with an Islamic dude, an Arab dude, and allegedly this Arab dude coerced her to become Muslim, and she ends up allegedly trying to join Muslim with, I mean, not Muslim, ISIS with her boyfriend. And, they end up getting stopped at the airport. They were trying to bullshit their way. Allegedly, they were trying to bullshit their way out of, out of going to jail because they were making it seem like, oh, it was we're going to Turkey for a honeymoon vacation. And the media, as usual, they're putting a lot of attention and blame on the black girl. The black girl's the face of the article. And the pictures that they're showing is actually two pictures that are fused together, because one left side is a picture of the girl and the right side is the picture of her boyfriend. And majority of the news outlets are only focusing on the black female, and a lot of the blame is on her. And then that ironically, this woman's father is a police officer. So that just shows the irony. That just shows the stupidity of it all. And this video is just going to be on a lot of things. First off, I would like to say that black women do not have their priorities together. And this isn't the first time that black people have been allegedly joining ISIS. There have been other cases with a black man somewhere in the States where he was a rapper. He was I think a convict, and allegedly he wanted to join ISIS, and I think he got shot. I think he got killed in battle. And there was another instance where a DJ, I don't know where was he from? I think it was a black DJ from Australia. I think he was from somewhere. It was allegedly there was like a black DJ, and allegedly he joined ISIS and he ended up being killed on the battlefield. And it was like ironically how when black men join ISIS, they're quickly killed off, like as if they're like ill-equipped. Like everybody else gets AKs, and the black recruits only get like a little shitty pistol, and they're like, how come we don't get the big guns? It's like, oh, you'll get the big guns when you kill Americans. You'll get the big guns when you rank up. You don't get the big guns too soon. They'll try to bullshit you with that. To me, it's just funny how you got these alleged niggas joining ISIS because they're frustrated and tired of how Westerns view Islam. And this just kind of just shows like where the fuck is our priorities. And black women, this isn't the first time. I don't know if this is the only black woman who inspired to join ISIS, but this is really many times I have seen black women fighting for other people's battles. And this is the thing that kind of draws me and frustrates me about black women and their traitor mentality is that they don't fight for us. You know, even though you may have an Arab boyfriend, you're telling me some shit that don't even roughly affect you about how Islam is viewed in America. You more worried about that shit rather than like, oh damn, like shit, Boston. I mean, what's happening in Baltimore, man? The things happening in Ferguson. Oh, the things happening in Texas, man. That got me fired up. That got me fired up. Like that don't get you fired up to do anything. That don't get you to be like, damn, you know, like man, I gotta worry about my people and shit like that. I don't want to be the next Sandra Bland. What do I have to do to feel protected? How you ain't fighting for our battles, but allegedly your boyfriend has converted you to Islam so you can fight with ISIS. What kind of shit is that? And even on like other levels other than ISIS, I mean, I've seen black women, especially black feminists, fighting for trans women. And then black women get mad when trans women are overrepresented. When trans women, got black women looking stupid. Look at the outrage that some black women have that Kate Kate Jenner gets more attention than Serena Williams. And there was a couple people talking about like how come uh, Caitlyn Jenner's is labeled beautiful, but Serena Williams is labeled manly. They make fun of her. They tell her that she looks like a man, and she doesn't have a feminine physique. See, that's what happens. And then not it's not entirely black women's fault with the trans issues, but the thing is that I've seen a lot of black women fighting for gay rights, fighting for trans. I mean, even the lady. There was a lady. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a lady who during the that little fiasco with the white fraternity from Oklahoma with the there will never be a nigga in SAE. With them there was one of the coons. You had a black female in there, and she was defending the racist boys, the racist white supremacists, but she also fought for Native Americans. She can fight for everybody else, racist whites, Native Americans, but when it comes to coming together to fight for a black agenda, all of a sudden, the hell? Excuse me. Just saw some people just kind of coming up to me. I was like, what the hell? But as I was saying though, they can fight for everybody else's battles and fight everybody else's issues and agendas. But when it comes to us, we don't get that luxury. We don't get that support, and that does kind of frustrate me. But it's like what is the deal? Excuse me. Jeez. Like I was saying, it does get you fired up and angry with black women because it feels like they can never support our agendas. They can never, fight for realistic issues. They never fight for issues effectively, smartly, tactfully, and it just makes black women look more as a liability than an asset because all right, sorry about that. I had to move because I might be doing a little bit of cussing, and there were some kids coming up to me. So I just kind of wanted to move to a nice, quieter venue or spot. But like I was saying, is that it's so frustrating, and this is why a lot of black men do not trust black women in certain movements. That's why a lot of conscious men, black men in the conscious community can't trust black women because it's just, they could be spies, agents, they could be, just there to mess things up. They're not there for the good reasons. And it just creates a lot of confusion. And you just having them there. There's always just some type of distrust with females in these type of revolutionary movements. But I do notice that you have a lot of black women who are in movements that don't pertain to us as a people. Even with amongst black feminists especially, is that, black feminists are fighting for intersectionality. That's the main agenda of black feminism nowadays. And what they mean by that is that they want to incorporate white women to fight black women's battles. Basically, it's just kind of a cry for help that, oh, hey, black women are being manhandled, body slammed, suplex, clotheslined by white police officers, and they're being killed by them as well. And they're asking for a white mommy, to help them. Like, hey, they're not gonna. The thing is that they're not gonna save you. These white women are not gonna tell their husbands, their brothers, to say like, hey, you have to leave those women alone because they don't deserve it. They were in fear, and it's not right morally. These women can give less than two fucks about how you're feeling or how you're viewed. These white women are not gonna tell their media to lower their pedestal just so you can feel equal or satisfied with yourself because you're insecure. There is no true white ally, and there's really no true white feminist allies. Despite the bullshit that you hear from articles like Huffington Post, white feminists are not listening to your issues. They do not care about your children. They do not care about your daughters. You are on your own. You might, and the thing is, you will have one or a couple. And the thing is, a lot of white feminists aren't dumb to black issues, especially black issues amongst women. It's just that they just study you. They just kind of like hearing your ratchet lifestyle. They like hearing your complaints. And don't expect them, and I'm just saying, like, don't expect them to do anything for you. But, this is the main problem that I have with black women, because it just seems like we can't trust them. And, a lot of brothers, are hesitant with having black women in the movement. Look at Black Lives Matter. It's unstable. It's not taken seriously. There's no true power. There's no agenda specifically. What is Black Lives Matter? What are they doing? What is the true goal? You can't tell. There is no true goal. They'll say, oh well, you'll have random people or people in the movement say, well, Black Lives Matter is to the mission and goal is to stop cops from killing unarmed black people. But the thing is that the thing is that what is going to be the white motivation for white people to stop killing us unjustly, unfairly? There's no motivation. There's no realistic plan. There's no, like, okay, they're not talking to anybody. All Black Lives Matter is doing is just talking to random people who don't have any power, and then they're flexing as if they're doing something. They're just Twitter trolling people, you know, just yelling and just running up to white folks and white communities talking about, you need to talk about this, you need to talk about this. Yes, they do need to talk about it, and they do need to fix the problem, but what is the initiative? What is the, what is the plan or the goal? What is the reason for uh, wanting to change? There's no incentive for them to change when they're winning and they're on top and they're kicking us and killing us. So what is you trying to guilt trip them going to do? And this is why I just don't like a lot of female-run organizations. I don't like a lot of female-run YouTube personnel or social media personnel or Twitter celebrities. Take for example, Sister Soul Love. We praised her for a little bit, for calling Don Lemon a coon. Then she done found him again, and she's talking, and then the minute she gets some relevant spotlight, she's talking crazy. She's downing Farrakhan. She doesn't work well with other black organizations. And so it just creates a lot of friction and a lot of disdain and distrust because, black men are going to be kind of cautious and crazy, hesitant to like, okay, I don't want to have a female in the group because it's just gonna divert the energy. And this is pretty much why black males have to lead, because I just think the problem with females is that it's the sexual energy. I just think that they bring too much unnecessary things into the table, and they're just not beneficial. Doesn't mean they can't do anything, doesn't mean they shouldn't do anything, but the thing is that it's really time for black men to lead. And it's not like I'm saying that black men aren't doing anything. We are doing something. The problem is that we have black women and a lot of people from Black Lives Matter trying to say that black men aren't doing anything because we smarted up and said, hey, we're not going to be in these dumbass organizations that don't do anything. Jeez. But back to that story about ISIS with the black girl joining ISIS. I really can care less about what white supremacy does to this girl. Give her life. Call her whatever. Because it's really no skin off my bones. Trying to, I shouldn't even. I'm not. Nobody's gonna defend her. I'm not. They can give her the old black treatment, the old black face of crime, the old black face of being hateful towards whites in America. They can run it. They can run it on her, and I'll just laugh because it's no skin off my bones. This sister already made her choices. She wanted to fight for people who don't fight for their best interest. She wants to fight for men who don't respect black women. Let's be honest about ISIS and the Arabs' slave trade that's still going on in Africa. Let's not forget about how Boko Haram is tag teaming with ISIS, and Boko Haram is kidnapping, selling young girls to Arab slave masters and owners. So, what is your black face going to mean in a terrorist organization? It's not going to mean anything. I don't even know how this dude even coerced her to even join ISIS, because that's just crazy enough. Like, how the fuck did that happen? Like, did this chick not know about Boko Haram wanting to team up with them, and they're kidnapping African girls so they can be their slaves? how did you miss this? How did you just be like, dang, America needs to get this ass whooping. America needs to get this work, but you're purposely leaving out the global racism, the global white supremacy, the global uh, agents and factors that keep black folks down. But you're more worried about a religious, um, a religious perspective. You're just more worried about how Muslims are being viewed, and then you're totally missing the point on how blacks are viewed. And the ironic thing is that you know it's not even really ironic. It's just me saying this, but can we trust black women? I ain't trying to down them or anything, but I know this is pretty much like just kind of like one of those weird out there stories, one in a million. But it does show that a lot of black women do not support our true causes when it comes to black economics, black empowerment. They're not for that, but they can be easily coerced to fight for other people's battles. They have no problem fighting for gays. They have no problem fighting for other people's rights, and supporting their agenda. And then, ironically, our agenda is last or is never met. By the time we fight for us, we're kind of like, well, Mike Brown wasn't a saint. He wasn't an angel. Well, Trayvon Martin wasn't all that. He did this and that. Oh, well, Sandra Bland, might have been alive if she had a husband. You get all these deflections and distractions about, it could have been better if he or she did this. But, but these black women are blind followers to other people, and that's what pisses me off. We're always the last ones' goals to be met. And the thing is, our goals are never met. I see black women put so much energy and fight for other people, and yet, where's our support? Where's our standing leg? We don't get that. I feel like maybe the media is maybe, I'll admit, yes, the media is going a little too hard on her, but I don't care about it. Yeah, they're going to give her the nigga treatment, but I don't care. They can plaster her face in, as a terrorist or whatever, as a domestic terrorist. They can do that. You picked your side, and black people are not going to fight for you. And I blame people like Crystal and Karazan and all these swirlers who are quick to say, oh, date these non-black men and ignore the danger. And the thing is, and they like tell them to ignore all the negatives about dating men outside your race. Despite the little, the shit and scuffles that black relationships get to, we're not the ones joining crazy ass organizations. We're not telling girls to join gangs or to do this and, do some crazy ass shit. Niggas ain't telling their girls to do anything extra. I'm just kind of curious if Crystal and Karazan is gonna say anything about this. She probably won't, but she might. But I think her venom towards NWA is too great for her to be distracted, because she's just on a die-hard mission. She's just on a die-hard mission to destroy the faces of black men. And she'll ignore stories like this. And the thing is that ignoring it is not going to help. What's going to happen is that more black girls are going to get caught up into these dangerous interracial relationships, and they're going to get caught up into these situations that they never been in. How many black girls can relate to this girl? going to jail because of ISIS connections. Black girls can't relate to that. There's no ism for that. And there's going to be more situations that are awkward, that are weird, that black women have never really been in. And, Crystalline Carazon is going to ignore it, and black women are just going to fall victim to it. But, that's what happens because she's too worried about black men and what they're doing. She's too worried about that. It would have been one thing if Crystalline Carazon was like advocating for IR dating, and then she was like, beware of what white boys tend to do, beware of what Latino men tend to do, beware of what Asian men tend to do. She always wants to bring up that happy-go-lucky IR couple who's been dating for the longest, and they look so pretty and rosy and everything's fine. But she doesn't want to talk about the negatives, but she's quick to talk about negative black relationships and how black men are so abusive, how black men are raping and pillaging the black community. But she doesn't want to talk about how white men are raping and pillaging their own community as well. Last time I checked, when I was watching shows like To Catch a Predator, I was seeing white and Muslim or Arab or Indian men on that show. Majority of the people on How to Catch a Predator were white and Indian/Arab. So what does that tell you? Who you need to be watching and looking out for. Crystalline Carazon, she doesn't want to talk about a lot of these Hispanic and white men who are preying on minor teen girls, teen black girls who have low self-esteem, and they're kidnapping them. She's not going to tell you about that. So, with these black women in IR dating relationships, Crystalline Carazon can be a hero overnight if she was telling you about the signs and dangers and negatives, the positives and negatives of IR dating. I would like her a little bit better if she did that. But, she wants to neglect it, and more black girls are going to be caught up into these weird situations with non-black men, and they're going to be stuck and confused of like, oh, how do I get out of this when nobody like me has ever been through it? But, that's it. That's all I gotta say, man. I don't care nothing about this girl. I hope the book gets thrown at her. Say what you will.